Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy Derwin, and I'm here with Shane Buell. And today we're going to be going over the multiple tornadoes that hit the South and the Midwest on May 16th. So there have been a lot of really strong tornadoes coming through this area. We even have a batch that came out on the 19th, which we'll go over a little bit later. We'll go into a little bit today, but what I asked Shane to do was to explain, how a tornado starts, the different parts of the tornado. So when we see the footage, you can kind of identify what's going on. So this topic is new to me, so I've been learning, and it's really been very fascinating, knowing all the different parts of it. Some of them have multiple vortices, some of them have horizontal vortices, some are very broad, some are very narrow. So I've been really learning a lot. So I wanted to make sure he shares this with you. And then he also caught some very interesting satellite imagery that happened shortly right before these tornadoes broke out. So I'll start with that because I thought this was really, really worth showing.
All right. So yeah, what we see here are some waves at the bottom of the screen. You see a big blob of cloud that's like a convection. So that's a mesoscale convective system that is producing a tornado in the Great Plains. Let's go ahead and play that again. And so you see these waves that are underneath where this big cloud erupts from. And that's called a mesoscale convective system. And you can see that those waves are present at the time of the formation of that one. And then here's another one. It's nighttime, so the waves look a little differently, but you could see how there was waves present and then a mesoscale convection that produced a tornado. And then it happened again in Kansas. Waves were present and it produced a mesoscale convection that produced a tornado. Okay. So, I've seen this quite often. Those kind of waves are called gravity waves. Meteorologists have termed those atmospheric gravity wave clouds, but I do think they look very similar to something else. And I want to show a picture here of this. So this is from a patent. I don't know if I can name the patent here. It's hurricane and tornado control device, and it alleges to use sound waves to create a rotating vortex. All right, and so this is what they do: is they hit the sides of it with sound waves to cause a counterclockwise rotation, and that looks very similar to the video that we just saw. Now, I'm not saying definitively that that is proof that that's what's occurring. However, it does seem to be present for every derecho we've ever had, and many of the tornadoes. There's quite often that we see gravity waves present when they should not be. According to meteorologists, gravity waves are usually produced by differences in the terrain, like the topology and the topography of the ground, causing the air currents to make this undulating wave pattern. However, we often see this over the ocean and especially over the Great Plains. So, like, it's completely flat ground, and you would expect to see a more laminar flow, but for some reason, these waves keep showing up, and they used to be rare, but they're not so rare anymore. All right. So on Friday, May 16th, we had a lot of supercell thunderstorms that were long track. So we had several long track thunderstorms, one of which was over 500 miles long. Now, these long track supercells were what caused all of the tornadoes on Friday. In fact, all of the tornadoes from Friday were caused by just 3 individual supercells that were long track in nature. So what is the difference between a supercell and a line of thunderstorms? So on the left here, we see a line of thunderstorms that are all basically sharing their energy with each other so that the energy of each storm is dissipated along the entire line. However, when you have discrete supercell thunderstorms that are all by themselves, the energy doesn't really dissipate and it just builds in an upward fashion. And so that's how you can get these really, really strong storms that are very isolated. And these supercells are what cause tornadoes. This is the cross section of a supercell that is producing a tornado. So what we have usually usually when there's a tornado, we have a temperature inversion combined with a wind shear as well as an updraft. And so what happens is any updraft that gets hit by wind shear starts to rotate. And then once you have a path upward through the cold air, the hot air starts to rise through that column, and it creates a rotating vortex that can sustain a tornado. All right. So on Friday, Actually, on Thursday, May 15th, the National Weather Service released this forecast for the tornado outlook for Friday. And it shows the area which was expected to get tornadoes. And that was exactly the area that did get hit by tornadoes. So you can see, St. Louis, southeastern Missouri, central Kentucky, they're all in this area, as well as southern Illinois. And those were the areas that got hit the hardest. All right, so one of the first tornadoes that happened on Friday actually hit the St. Louis area. And this is what it looked like. It was a giant tornado. It was very large, but it was about medium strength, I guess, as far as tornadoes go, which was EF3. And here it is behind the St. Louis Arch. You can see just how big it is. So the track of this particular tornado started in northwestern St. Louis, and it tracked all the way across St. Louis and across the river into Illinois and on to Glen Carbon in Illinois. Now, some of the damage indicators that we've seen are roofs that were ripped off of the buildings, and walls that were ripped off of the buildings as well. Even brick walls were brought down.
So an EF3 can do this. I'm just wanted to clarify. That was EF3 damage right here?
Yes, EF3 damage. It was rated at 152 miles per hour. So yes, this is what 152 mile per hour wind would do to a structure that was composed of brick like this.
Okay.
Here we see another brick building that was reduced to even smaller pieces of rubble, almost individual bricks. This is EF3, 152 mile per hour is what the National Weather Service rated this at. And then here's another home in St. Louis that was also collapsed and reduced to larger pieces of debris. But you can see just, how devastating an EF3 tornado at 150 miles per hour is. Now, one of the things that I wanted to point out happened in St. Louis was that there was no sirens that were activated during this tornado. This is very reminiscent of Maui. And what are the odds that the sirens wouldn't be activated during a tornado like this? It's a very high population. There were 770,000 people that were in this tornado warning, and they did not sound the sirens. Now, this is really strange because the day before, the Emergency Management Agency in St. Louis actually did test the sirens because they knew there was dangerous weather coming. So they tested the sirens on Thursday, and everyone in St. Louis heard the sirens on Thursday, but nobody reported hearing the sirens on Friday. Even stranger than that is that let's see here. On Friday afternoon, the SEMA staff, including Russell, who was the SEMA manager, were at an off-site workshop when a tornado warning was issued by the National Weather Service. Russell or other CMA staff could not activate the siren because they were out of town at a workshop. Now, that sounds also just like what happened on Maui when Maui Emergency Management Administrator Herman Adaya was off island. And we have his text messages and everything where he tried to tell them to send out the text alerts, to sound the alarms, and they didn't do it. And he still got thrown under the bus. So it looks like this is what's happening again, also in St. Louis. We've seen similar things happen in LA where the mayor was out of town during the event, and then she comes back and she blames everything on the fire chief. It looks like this is happening again in St. Louis, where they're blaming everything on the emergency management administrator. Okay, so I think that's everything for St. Louis, unless you had any comments on St. Louis.
We showed the footage.
Oh,
with the damage.
Yeah, hold on a second. I totally forgot to show the footage. I should have shown this first because this is actually really good video. So I'm going to show you some tornado videos from St. Louis. All right, so this is a time-lapse video that I got from the news, the local news there, and you can see how large this cloud was as it moved into the city. So you can see it building the convective there, and then it starts to rotate, and it moves in, and it's very large. I think this tornado was probably about a half a mile wide at its base, actually. And so, yeah, the footage is, like I said, it's time-lapse, so it didn't happen quite as fast as it appears here, but you can get an idea of the scale of the base of that cloud. All right, so now we have some more footage from St. Louis.
Hey, man, it's a tornado, man. We're in the tornado. Oh, shit.
our Katrina, basically.
We are estimating right now about 5,000 buildings have been impacted.
When I say I was just in this shit, y'all, west side, man. I'm talking about tornado just hit me, cuz look at the whip. I'm talking about just fuck us up. You hear me? Look at the windows in his shit. That window's gone. Look. Oh my God. Hey man, this shit crazy, man. I'm gonna take my ass home. This is street light pole. Yeah. Uprooted. Bust my windows out. Knock bricks down. That couch right there. That couch weighed a good 300, 400 pounds. About a good 200 pounds.
Me and my son, minor injury, but God, we can get another car. The tornado came through my car, y'all. But God.
You can find some more?
All right. So you can see just.
Do most people in this area have storm shelters? Like,
not in that area, no. So typically in the city limits, it's rare to have a storm shelter. They will often have basements, but finding a storm shelter within the city limits is it's usually like a church or something will be set up for that sort of thing. People typically don't have private storm shelters within the city limits.
right. And it would be, there usually isn't enough notice to get to like another facility, right? Because a tornado happens really fast and it often will travel very fast, right? You would need your own.
Can. And in this particular case, they did. So they only had about 7 or 8 minutes of warning. And that was from their text messages because they didn't get sirens, but they did get text messages. And those went out about 7 or 8 minutes before the tornado actually hit. And so there was a lot of people that just didn't have time to get to shelter.
And I did want to point out, just because I'm a little bit newer, I think a lot of our audience is as well. Tornadoes also take out power lines, right? I noticed that's something we'll see later. And then they do seem to destroy the above ground infrastructure and as well as cars, which is a little different from like the floods and the fires. So just wanted to point that out.
And then I do have another video from St. Louis that talks about the lack of sirens.
Saying they have not heard tornado sirens go off.
That's true.
Not gotten any kind of warning on their phone. Well, we did get our warning on our phone.
I got the warning on my phone, but I did not hear the sirens. They did a lot of siren testings recently.
Yeah, so they had tested the sirens the day before, so they did work, but they didn't get used when they needed them.
All right, so we want to move on to the next one, Marion.
Yeah. So
Illinois.
So then the next tornado that we have was the Marion Hudgens, Illinois EF4, which is rated at 190 miles per hour, which did a lot of damage. And I have another video of this occurring, and this one actually has sound.
Holy. Oh my God. On your door. Oh my God. It's right there. Right there. Look at it. You can hear it. Oh. Holy moly.
And I do want to point out that I heard the train noise. That's how close they were getting the footage. And I did want, I want to give the storm chasers credit. So we'll link all of these videos in the description. A lot of these guys risked their lives getting this footage. So I wanted to thank them all. And we're going to see another one at the end from Reed Timmer where he actually intercepts a really strong tornado and his car spins around. But I just wanted to make sure I gave all of these storm chasers credit for getting this kind of footage.
Agreed. And that particular video was from Danny the Tornado Hunter. You can find him on YouTube. Okay, so the Marion tornado was EF4 rated at 190 miles per hour, which is very, very high wind speed. And so here's some of the damage that we see. We can see, yes, the house was taken off the foundation, but when you look very closely at the foundation, there are sill plates, but there are not anchor bolts. You can see there's a few nails sticking out here where the house was toe-nailed into the sill plates, but it was not, they did not use anchor bolts. So that does look, unfortunately, like a case of improper construction. Here you can see once again that there's only nails and no bolts. But here is a very interesting damage indicator on the left of the concrete slab that was lifted up and dropped back down. There's only so much you can do about that. But when it comes to the bolts, there are no bolts. And so that's probably why this was not actually rated higher. Okay, so that is, I think, everything we had for the Marion, Illinois tornado. And now we're going to go to Missouri. So in Blodgett, Missouri, there was another medium strength tornado that was rated EF3 at 152 miles per hour. And we actually do have video of this one as well. And this video comes from the Storm Chasing channel. And this footage was captured by Scott Peak. He's a storm chaser with the Storm Chasing channel. All right, so here's a really good quality video that he captured. And you can see the very clear funnel as it approaches the highway, and they're surrounded by a debris cloud. Is quite a thick and debris cloud that has actually been flung pretty far outside of this tornado. But this is a classic cone-shaped tornado, and it doesn't appear to be fully condensed at the moment, but you can still see the debris cloud rising from the ground where the tornado is actually touching the ground. And so as this continues to cross the road, he's going to get a lot closer, and you can see just how big this debris is and how powerful this tornado is as it ripped up the trees and the debris. Those are pieces of houses and everything that are flying through there.
And what's interesting is every tornado has has its own personality or its own character, and they vary a lot, which is
every tornado pretty much looks different and sounds different too. They don't all sound the same. Some have very little noise to them, and some have very loud noise. Okay, so now the next tornado that I want to cover was the one that happened in Morganfield, Kentucky. This was an EF3 rated at 155 miles per hour. And here is a picture of the tornado after it had reached full strength. But I do also have a video of this tornado as it formed, and we're going to show that now. So this actually comes to us from, I think, Kelly and Scott. I forget their names. I apologize. But they actually took this video from their home as the tornado was generated. So this was a video of tornado genesis in Morganfield, Kentucky. And as it approaches those trees, they're actually, I didn't include the audio, but they are calling their parents who do live on the other side of those trees. Their parents' home was impacted and they lost their home, but their parents actually did survive without injury. So yeah, you can see just how fast these spin up. And right now it's a small cone, but as we saw in the previous photo, it will later become a medium-sized wedge. So yeah, these can actually spin up in a matter of seconds to minutes. And so every minute counts and every second counts. And that's why it's really important to have some sort of early warning system for tornadoes like this once they happen. And then once that early warning is, once you determine there's a tornado in the area, now you have to get the text messages out, and the sirens have to be sounded as well. Another thing I wanted to point out just real briefly is that some people have bought NOAA weather radios, but this weekend there was also a NOAA weather radio outage in some areas. So people who have those radios might not have received alerts. Okay, so some of the damage from this Morganfield, Kentucky that looked really interesting to me was, again, homes that were swept completely off their foundation. However, when we look closely, it does look like there are no anchor bolts. And so they might have cut some corners during the construction on this, and it may be considered improper construction. Okay. So now, let's see. There's one more tornado that I want to go over. Let's see. We covered, yeah, that was the Morganfield tornado. So now we're going to go to London, Kentucky. So there was a very powerful EF4 tornado that was rated at 100 and I think 70 miles per hour, perhaps 190. And this happened at night. So this was about midnight when this tornado occurred. And so some of the very few images we have are actually taken during lightning flashes, like this one here. You can see that it's a relatively decent sized cone tornado, and it left a track that looked like this. It actually left such a long track. I think this was on the ground for an hour, and it went over 55 miles, and you can actually see the track from space. This was the tornado scar as seen from space. All right, let's see here. Now, I do have some video from London, Kentucky, and I'm going to play that here.
We're not just talking about remains of homes left behind, pieces of homes. We're talking about homes completely wiped away here to the very foundation of where they sat, the concrete foundation. This is exhibiting signs of violence that you only see in the strongest of tornadoes, EF3, EF4 plus tornadoes. And it happened at the worst possible time, the overnight hours. People, despite the fact there were so many tornadoes throughout the region, still let their guard down. The violent strength of this tornado and the late hour, close to midnight, when this monster tore through. This was a long track tornado on the ground for well over an hour and a half. Incredibly, the supercell that created this tornado actually formed well to the west in Missouri on Friday afternoon. It dropped several tornadoes throughout the afternoon, early evening, but this is likely the zenith of that supercell strength, the tornado that it dropped, just absolutely demolishing these homes that sat in its path. These trees, another good example of just how violent it was. That sign of the debarking there as well, the debris, the force of the winds removing the bark, the force of this tornado, the winds, if this was indeed EF3, EF4 plus, like the signs that my experienced eyes are looking and seeing. And some of the saddest things, pets running in the distance, terrified, their homes gone. We said just some slabs left in many cases. Just pure destruction. But you see some dogs running around, cats. It's hard to be able to see if you can help because they're so scared. You're a stranger. They're terrified. Everything they know has been just wiped away. Who knows if their owners, sadly, are even here anymore, or if just the home around them was ripped away and some miraculous way they survived. Pure destruction here in London. Violent tornado destruction does not get much worse than what you see here.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. They actually did lose over 20 people in London, Kentucky to that tornado.
And that's probably because it was in the middle of the night, right? People were
Yes.
sleeping, probably
People were
slept.
sleeping. Yeah, it was after midnight. People were asleep. And once again, there was no sirens that were sounded. And so no one was woken up in the middle of the night by the sirens.
And because of the conditions that are required for a tornado to start, is it more likely they start during the day when the temperature is higher?
Yes, absolutely. It's way more common to have a tornado during the day because temperatures do have to be higher. Dew points have to be higher too. So you have to have a dew point and a temperature above 55 degrees, which is more likely to happen in the daytime. But in the South, that can even still happen at night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So as he showed, there was some debarking of trees that took place. And you can see this tree here is missing about half of its bark. And yeah, so that's actually a sign of a very violent tornado. And then this concrete slab was actually lifted up and then dropped back down, which is what I think broke it. The fact that this slab was even able to be lifted in the first place indicates a very violent and very strong tornado. Now, that water bottle was probably placed there by a National Weather Service surveyor, so I do believe that water bottle was placed after the fact. So here we see another slab, and this is in London, Kentucky, that looks to be swept clean. But once again, I don't see any signs of anchor bolts that are there, and so this could be another sign of improper construction. Unfortunately, in the South, you have to build your homes with sill plates and anchor bolts. Nails are not going to do it.
Okay. And so I asked Shane to add these clips. It's not the May 16th ones, but there was one in Madison, Alabama, that many storm chasers got really good footage. In fact, Reed got stuck in it. He intercepted it. And I think mainly because it crossed the road. And really, really good footage. When I saw this, I actually became very captivated that you can see the ground literally being scraped off the ground. And you know what, let me just play it. This one is from Scott, the storm chasing channel. And then I'll play Reed, the one that intercepts it. But this one is really good footage here.
So I'm going to stop the loop.
There it is. Tornado on the ground right there. Headed into Madison, Alabama. Damaging tornado, throwing debris in the air.
Right towards James Clemens High School.
Throwing debris in the air.
Seeking shelter right now in the city of Madison, especially as you get south of Highway 72.
There it goes.
Magnolia Springs subdivision just to the south. This is going to be very, very close here. And it looks like the city of Madison may take
right there, everybody. There it goes. This thing's going to get big. Large debris getting thrown in the air. Large debris.
There's a Mooresville Road. There's a bunch of new subdivisions out here too.
Large debris. Oh my goodness.
Humphrey Road here.
Oh God.
Many of you taking some of these by a detour.
Oh geez, it's getting violent.
Going on the west side of Madison with that new.
We got to keep going.
Roundabout going in.
Hang on, guys.
Seegers Road. Numerous subdivisions out here in and around James Clemens High School. You need to see.
It's going to cross right in front of us. Where's my phone? Horizontal vortices! Horizontal vortices! It's gonna go right in front of us. Here it comes. We're gonna get up in it. Large debris getting thrown in the air. This thing's gonna get huge. Tornado crossing the highway right now in front of us. It's gonna hit those cars. Power flashes. Power flashes. Multi-vortex. Multi-vortex. Debris falling from the sky right here. Multi-vortex right in front of me. Oh my God. Oh my God, please no. Stop, don't drive. God, you're gonna drive right into it. It's coming down right in front of me. Do not drive, man. All right, here it is. Here's the debris field. There it is, right here. Huge tornado right now. It's throwing trees in the air. Oh, dear God.
All right, that was really fascinating footage. That was not Scott. That's Storm Chaser Brad Arnold. He has a lot of good footage. And I'm going to play one more. This is Reed Timmer. I know a lot of you guys know his content. His car, the Dominator, was actually in Brad's video towards the end. You see his car. He has a specialized car for storm chasing that can withstand tornadoes. So you'll see it here. And this is the one where he intercepts the tornado that we just saw in the last clip.
If you launch, I think it's getting in, sir. There it is. The whole tornado's expanded. We're in the debris field. You like that? Yep.
The debris is still falling though right here.
Yeah, but it's right here.
Okay.
There it is.
Yep. Am I on the screen still?
Listen to that.
You
like
get a little
that?
closer. Will, can you look at
Look, it's really going right there.
Forward.
Pushing, pushing.
Yeah, you're good. We're good? All right.
We're probably gonna get at this intersection.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're on it.
We're gonna bang this thing.
Got it. Yep.
Power flashes. Big power flashes. Yeah. Get past these power lines. All right, we live, right?
Yep. This one's
we're live.
Right into it. Where you going? Look straight ahead. How's going? How's going?
Stay on it. All right, I'm launching.
Shoot it.
Shooting.
Here, head it back to me. Yep.
Whoa. Oh yeah, it's up.
Holy crap! Yeah, that's what I'm talking about! Yeah! Whoa! Holy cow! We're in danger! You're in danger!
Holy crap!
We're in danger! We spun around!
We got it!
Did you stop recording?
No,
we're recording. It wasn't recording when it
Keep on it.
Okay, it's going east of us! Get the window down! I was like, yep, there it is.
Everybody chill, bro.
We're good. Everything's fine! Whoa, it's down there!
We still screaming?
It's down to the left!
Hey, give me this.
Yeah, hold it! Hey, hold.
Four-wheel drive.
Four-wheel drive. I can't drive!
Four-wheel.
I can't help! Give me that. Here.
Oh, yeah, Will, you got it. Give me this.
It's not, Kim, get in the gear!
Yes. We're spinning. We're spinning.
We're in the
mud. We're in the mud. We're in the ditch.
Four high.
We got spun around.
So yeah, I think of all the ones that I saw, that was the most well-documented tornado because it crossed the road and there were so many storm chasers. And thank you to those storm chasers for putting their lives in danger. That really takes some balls. But we're gonna go into that one in our next video because there's just been so many. I didn't want to do a super long one, but I'm really excited to get more footage from the Madison one out. And there were other storm chasers. Those cars you saw, they also got their own footage. And when you see in the beginning, he shoots something into the tornado, it's actually a sensor, and they're able to measure how far the tornado swept it up. And I think they got it to like over 250, 300 feet. I saw there's a follow-up video, but we'll go into more in our next video. So yeah, I really thought I really want to show those today. So was there anything else we wanted to share, Shane?
I think that does cover everything. I'm just really jealous of Reed Timmer and his Dominator truck. That's actually, he's built 4 of those, and those are specially designed to go into tornadoes. Yeah, well, that might be his. He doesn't drive the first 2. I think the first 2 are out of service, but he does have 3 and 4. I'm not sure which one that was. That might have been Dominator 4, actually. And it's specially designed to withstand tornadoes. And they do shoot probes into the tornado to not only measure the height. They've had probes that went as high as like 30,000 miles and traveled, or 30,000 feet and traveled 26 miles from the point that they launched it. And that probe also gathers. It also gathers air pressure and wind speed as well.
Yeah, they said that one really got a lot of good measurements. So maybe it was higher than 250. But anyways, yeah, I was really, those 2 videos really kind of fascinated me to learn more about tornadoes. So I hope you guys learned a lot in this video. And I hope this, I want these videos to gain awareness So it's not just people in certain parts of the country that are aware of this. I do think the whole world needs to be aware of just how bad the situation is, how widespread the damage is, and how frequent and how severe these storms are. I don't think I do think this is unprecedented, right? The frequency and the
Somewhat.
right? Somewhat, but
It,
yeah, this has been a really active tornado
yeah, I did
season.
look into the stats. This year is more active than last year. We have had not only more higher number of tornadoes, but more of those tornadoes have been strong tornadoes.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's going to do it for today, right? And
Yeah.
we'll put the next one up as soon as we can, as soon as we could find time to film. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.